I'm going to end up giggling every time we start this, just so you know. It's going to take a couple rounds. Oh, I know I'm live, okay?
This is the first time we've tested this.
Yeah, this is the first time we've had any level of production value, so hang on for the giggles and the possible whatevers, because apparently we've gained a production crew. So, and with that, welcome to Between Two Peers, with a live stream show with Mistress, Sassy, Seamstress, and Sir Danger Muppet, and a random guest every week where you can ask us questions about life, the universe, and everything. So, this week, our sponsor is brought to you by beer. I cannot pronounce that beer's name.
Synoger.
It starts with a C-Y.
It's Synoger.
It's got to do with the North Star somehow.
Okay, cool. Yep. So, I'm skipping over these beers' names.
Denali, I'll read it. Try Synoger's Session or Denali's Agave Gold.
Remember to drink responsibly, drink locally, and support your local breweries. Please remember, this show is rated R for language, possible sexual conversations, and general sassy opinions. If you haven't seen this show before, I cuss a lot. And we'll discuss dick.
Well, there you go, right off the top.
Yep. So, one of our main hosts is Mr. Sassy Seamstress.
That's me. I'm Tulia Alori. I am a Laurel. And I am really into Synoger's Session. Actually, it's very good. When we were in Alaska last year for June Crown, one of the best places we went to was Synoger. And I actually have their hoodie, which I wear pretty much all the time.
I should have gotten one.
Oh, you should have. It's a really good hoodie. It's like my default costume. When I'm not wearing this, I'm wearing their hoodie. They're in Anchorage, Alaska, and they're fabulous.
Well, and I am Sir Danger Muppet, otherwise known as Hogan.
When I'm not wearing this, I'm wearing their hoodie.
I also support local
They're
breweries.
in Anchorage,
though
Alaska.
I'm for the ciders, especially if there's anything to do with pomegranate. So, there you go. And our guest this week is that damn Kinehild. I had to do it. I'm sorry. There you go.
I don't think you can apologize for that.
No apologies. I am that damn Kinehild. I'm damn Kinehild. I like dogs.
So,
yeah.
Kinehild the library.
Yeah.
So this week we start on a little slightly somber note. We are actually dedicating this show to two of our friends. I'm gonna let Kinehild go first.
So a dear member of our household and a member of our principality is going through a really rough time right now, dealing with a battle with cancer that none of us should have to face, but so many people do. So I raise my glass to her tonight, and I'm going to knock this table all around. It's not an earthquake, I swear. So thinking of her.
And second, we are dedicating this show to Davo, who had just started in the SCA in the last couple of years, and we lost him to the battle with cancer last night. He was a very bright spot. And so on a high note, we're dedicating this show and all the rowdiness to him, because our first show, he placed his balls upon his phone in dedication to this show lasting forever. So with that, party on. We'll see him in Valhalla.
We have been blessed by Dave of Holy Balls.
He texted me that. He's like, by the way, the balls are on phone. For good luck. This show's going to never end.
Delightful human being. He was a jewel, and also much love to Asia, his partner, who is a wonderful human being in and of herself, and a dear friend of mine, actually, before I even knew Davo. So, yeah.
So with that, we're going to roll into questions, and we're going to party hard tonight. So get into your cups with us, because that's our plan.
All right. So we're doing questions. Number one actually comes from me, because I get host prerogative to ask the first question. Kinehild, what's your favorite documentary?
Oh my God. Time Team. I mean, it's Time Team, right? Like there's a world of documentaries out there. There are many fine films, but there are seasons of Time Team. And those guys are phenomenal, and they're mucking around in the English countryside or wherever they happen to be, digging stuff up and just getting so excited about Tesserae. Every time they find one, they practically wet their pants. They're just like, we found it's a mosaic. We found the tesseract.
It's so true.
I love it.
As a fan of Time Team, I completely 100,000% agree, because also while we're all sheltering in place and quarantining and whatnot, there's like literally like 80 million seasons of Time Team, and most of them are on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. So look it up. It's well worth the time, and everything is fabulous. It's hosted by Tony Robinson, who is many people who have watched Blackadder will know him as Baldric, and weirdly enough, it turned out to be he ended up being a member of Parliament. So, and doing Time Team.
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, he's a member of Parliament, or was for a long time. Yeah, yeah, but cool dude, cool show, super thumbs up.
I've never watched it. I have to fix that.
Oh, you certainly should, because what's his face? The stone flinting guy. What's his name?
Oh, I don't remember, but the Cotswold accent.
Yeah, the Cotswold. He's actually from Somerset, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, what is his name? Time Team. Anyway, you'll develop a huge crush on him, because trust me, it's a thing.
The show goes over like 16 years.
It starts in the early 90s, and it's still going as far as we know to this day. It's still going.
So more recent shows, he's older, but in the early shows, he's like this young buck archaeologist off in the wilds of England, wearing the shortest short jeans. Like
I sense a crush from Kinehild over here.
Oh no, the crush is all on me. Oh my God, Phil Harding. I don't know why I was like,
yes, Phil.
Yeah. Oh my God, he is 150 million% like just ridiculous and hot at the same time. And he's from Wiltshire. So, but yeah, oh my God, the whole reason to watch it. He's a delight. Everyone on there is a delight, and it's just fun to watch. So it's good, easy going conversational type stuff. So Helga, your favorite documentary?
So I'm gonna have to go with I was the dorky child. I was a latchkey kid. I'm gonna go with anything by National Geographic that involved lions or cheetahs or hyenas. You're on there. I don't need a specific one, but you're going to actually have to be accurate about it, because if you're not, I will stand up and yell at the screen. Like, flat out. Like, one, hyenas have a better hunting rate than lions by far. Lions are actually like bald eagles. So they're fucking scavengers. So there's like a huge amount of that, but like I really enjoy like African documentaries, and National Geographic tends to be pretty on point about like their actual information. And so I enjoy it. Like, if you turn on a documentary, I'm watching it, unless it's about like ancient aliens, and then I am just drunk and making fun of the entire thing.
Yeah, that's not. If it's about ancient aliens, it's not a documentary. It's a fiction.
Yeah,
it's an emotional jerk off to like conspiracy theories.
Yeah, that's fun. Jerking off is fun, right?
I'm going to be on point tonight, by the way, with just there are no filters right now.
That's beautiful. So my favorite documentary. I am literally the person who will watch a documentary with you anywhere, anytime. Doesn't matter what the documentary is. I'm all about the fucking documentaries. And in fact, point of fact, today I decided I was going to make my boyfriend and me watch a documentary on Pete Rose, who I am not exactly like the biggest sports fan in the universe, but I fucking love documentaries about sports. Really weird that way. And Pete Rose, very divisive figure and an interesting human being, and maybe he got done dirty by the baseball stuff, MLB or whatever it's called. But that's not my favorite documentary. My favorite documentary is actually, it's another sports documentary that I just watched, and it was about the Russian 5 hockey team. Well, the hockey players, they pulled out of Russia during the early 90s to play for the Red Wings. And it's a really, really, really good documentary. So I highly recommend everyone to watch it. I believe it's called The Russian 5.
Is it one of the ESPN? I know ESPN did a whole series of it.
I don't think it's an ESPN one. It's not, if you're thinking 30 by 30, it's not a 30 by 30, but it was... let me look it up. I can just really quickly Google this stuff because I have the internet at my fingertips.
We're all sitting here on the internet, live streaming to the internet, or we're all sitting here in garb, live streaming to the internet. Like, we can just Google this shit.
So it is not an ESPN produced one, as far as I know. But yeah, it's called The Russian Five, and it won a bunch of awards. And you have the highs and the lows. And since I don't follow sports, all of this was new to me. Meanwhile, my boyfriend Thorfinn was like, yeah, you should have known all of this stuff because it happened literally like 25, 30 years ago. And I was just like, no, but it's a great documentary.
That sounds good. I like it when sports. I like documentaries about sports where the politics intersect.
Yeah.
And 30 years ago, you're talking Cold War, follow the curtain, all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
I guess not the Cold War anymore. But like just after.
Mm.
In my head, the word is Brezhnaya, but I don't think that's right. The opening, I don't remember. My dad.
While we're waiting for her to Google, do we want to start asking the second question?
Yeah,
give me another question.
Please do it.
I like questions.
Awesome. So it's from Sophia. What is one mundane thing you wish you could have at every camping event?
The internet. I'm such a bad kid. I know. I'm a bad millennial. I'm the worst millennial. I want the internet all the time. Sometimes you need an answer, and the answer needs to be there, and it's not there in your head.
I thought you were the library, so thus you're the answer.
You know what?
The library needs access to the library.
Okay, hang on. So
library loan, my friend.
Everybody needs to understand we all need to watch her while she takes a sip of this beer the first time, because she opened one up before the show was going, and it was just the best face because that beer was not to her liking.
It was literally like tasting piss. It was.
Okay, that one's apparently okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Is this sufficient? Okay.
Better.
Which
so the internet for you, Julia?
Yeah. I want air conditioning. Since we live on the surface of the sun, aka California, and we tend to hold events in a scorched patch of earth with no shade, I want AC. That would be mine. How about you?
I'm going to not go with the obvious answer, and I can guarantee that everybody on that feed knows what I'm going to say, and so I'm going to not go with the obvious answer for once.
Vibrator.
Fuck you. Yes, okay. It is the one mundane thing that you should always have at events. But you gotta make sure you get one that isn't running a chainsaw next to all the other pavilions. Because otherwise everybody's like, oh, shit, somebody jump-started somebody over there. So you gotta get one of those nice quiet ones. And so the nice, you can't have one of the wall plug-in ones either, because there's no help in that. Unless you have a converter, and then it's just there's cords and everything else like that. Now it's complicated. Nice, simple, quiet. Vibrator. Yeah. There we go. Fine. I was gonna come up with a more tasteful answer than that, so fuck you.
Well, you could also just give the tasteful answer.
I don't know.
Oh, because that was actually your answer?
Yeah, I was trying to come up with something better.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No, I would definitely say air conditioning for sure. Yeah.
So shall we go to the next question after that? Yeah, I'm just going to be over here like this now.
Okay. Okay, so question 3 is from Madame Ghislaine. What is the alcohol that will wreck you the fastest?
Sorry, you got to say that. I'm sorry. Say that.
Okay, again. What is the alcohol that will wreck you the fastest? The thing that you drink that just will fuck your shit up so fast.
Okay, so I actually told this story recently. I have had exactly one hangover in my life.
Oh my God. Who are you?
I am a very large human being of Scotch-Irish descent. My liver is impermeable. That's not
I wish I had your liver.
Impermeable?
Impermeable. Yeah.
There we go. So here's the thing though. Before June Crown, Theory and Ulf, then Prince and Princess of the Mists, had come up for a visit because Theory is originally from up here. And we went out on the town for a night with her sister, and it was delightful. Solveig was her sister's name. And we got drunk, very drunk. And then we decided we were going to retire to Solveig's house to continue drinking because we had basically drunk our way through downtown and we were still bored. So we stopped at the sketchiest of sketchy liquor stores and picked up this stuff called bourbon cream.
Oh dear God.
And by picked up, I mean I picked it up. The rest of them picked up normal alcohols. But I was curious. It said maple flavored, and I like maple. And, it looked it looked unassuming. That shit fucked me up. It fucked me up bad. I don't actually remember going home. I woke up in my bed by myself. So clearly I managed to, there was an Uber. My car, I had not taken my car. So I got home. I got into my apartment. I got into my bed. But the distance between Solvay's house and my place, no memory. Not a lick.
It wasn't that time that you ran out there with Helga and got super, super drunk
Okay,
in
so
like the wilderness.
Here's the thing. I am not allowed to finish Helga's drinks. Helga is responsible for Helga's beverages. Kinehild is not responsible. And Kinehild needs to sometimes be reminded.
I'm just going to say, the drink that wrecks Kinehild the fastest is anything out of my cup. Yeah. And then she is fucked.
Because usually what that means is that I have gotten pretty sloshed on my own drinks, and now I'm getting sort of antsy and bored, and I want other people to start being amusing. So to be amusing, they need to finish their drinks, only she doesn't drink hers fast enough because she's a rational adult when it comes to alcohol sometimes. So she's taken her time, and I'm like, I've had half a bottle of Brendevin and some scotch and some beer and some other random shit that people handed me, and whatever and the Tang. There was it Tang and vodka?
Oh my
I don't
God.
remember. It was whatever else he was drinking.
Kinehild and I were having a riot of a time hanging out, and we just decided that if both of us were drunk, we couldn't drive anywhere. So we all proceeded to get shit-housed together. And then she introduced me to, what's that fucking show that's just terrible and full of feels?
Queer Eye.
Queer Eye. I can't make it through that show without crying, by the way. You ever want to watch me cry like a bitch? Watch me watch Queer Eye.
Oh, good.
I cannot watch that show without crying.
That should be another question, actually. What's the show you can't get through crying? You can't get watched without crying through. Yeah, Queer Eye, like the original Queer Eye, which happened when I was in my early 20s, is not the Queer Eye that got reimagined and is so much better. It is the current Queer Eye, so good. Super good. For me, though, okay, as a small person of Irish and Scots-Irish descent, my liver is like literally never up to the task at all. So any booze in any sort of quantity is liable to literally wreck my shit. It seems to be like an amount. So it's not necessarily the booze itself, it's the amount of booze. However, I will say the most insane hangover I ever had was from limoncello. I had just come back. I was a wee slip of a thing at the time. I was like 27. I had just come back from a internship in London, and part of that, during that time in the internship, friends of mine had taken me to Italy, where they had introduced me to limoncello, and I found it very refrescante. It was very, very tasty. Anyone who's had limoncello knows. It's delicious. And it comes in little glasses that are about this big, like, 2 inches. They're literally it's a sipping drink, and it's very refreshing and lovely. So as a parting gift, when I came home, my friend who had taken me to Italy decided to give me these 2 bottles, fairly nice size 750 milliliter bottles of limoncello. One was a middling one, and the other one was a very nice bottle. Ding dong me. Completely forgets all his stuff, by the way. Gets back to the States and sticks the bottles in my fridge, and then calls my best friend up, who I hadn't seen in 3 months. And I said, I'm home, and I've got this really cool thing called limoncello. We should totally have it. And it turns out we drank both bottles in the course of an evening. It was drunk AF. All night long. It was shenanigans. It ended up becoming known as limoncello night, and lives on in infamy on the live journals at the time. And anyway, Long story short, though, it was the fastest hangover because we both got super, super sick. And for one time, I was actually less drunk than my friend who usually handled her booze really well, and I didn't. I was slightly less drunk. But we got through it, and we both like collapsed, she on the couch, me in my bed. And I wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, ping, wide awake. And I wander out into the living room, and I see my friend on the couch, and I'm like, and she's sitting up and she's reading out of a book. And I'm like, I'm really hungry. Are you hungry? She's like, yeah, I'm hungry. So we went to IHOP and literally ate like the best meal of our lives. No hangover. It was weird. So maybe that actually isn't like the answer to the question. It wrecked me, but I didn't get a really bad hangover from it. So limoncello. But it took me about a decade before I could drink limoncello again without gagging. So
I've got the short, sweet answer. So again, same rec level really, but tequila wipes my memory. And it also makes me real scrappy.
So, girl, you're always scrappy.
Oh no, I'm missing. So I'm missing like an hour 45 at a Great Western.
Oh, no.
I'm missing about 45 minutes from this last Estrella.
Yeah.
Both times there ended up being a match that was pretty serious with somebody else in the process. Though the dent in the side of a van is actually me because Thanark and I decided we needed to wrestle.
So what I'm hearing is there is a friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours, in fact, Helga, a peer who also has some trouble with her tequila and has been 86 historically from drinking establishments on account of tequila, is that we should take you and her out on the town.
No. Like I actually, it weirds me out when I don't have memory of being super drunk. It like makes me super paranoid because I've been drunk enough before and then put my hands on somebody. Well, they deserved it. By the way, we're gonna start with they fucking deserved to have hands put on them. They were touching a person inappropriately, and I just didn't have mediation. So I normally have like assess situation, mediation, remove target, assess threat, and you go from there. And there's these stages and steps. When I'm on tequila, it is assess situation, remove target. Like, and that's it. Do not get in my way in the process. Nothing else like that. Remove target, put target the fuck down, leave situation, go drink more. Like that's it. Like, luckily at Estrella, I was starting to come back into memory. So I hit like remove target and I went, we should probably process this before we get 86 from sight.
That's fair. I respect that.
So, all right, we ready for the next question?
Yeah, fourth question. Question number 4. This is from Jug. What are some of the most difficult things you have had to deal with / change since becoming a peer? Also, Araya, I'm sorry I read this. It was actually your question. Shit. You get to do the next two.
So Kinehild?
So the most difficult things I've had to deal with or remove, or am I still stuck on the answer to Raya's last question?
Now, what are some of the most difficult things you've had to deal with / change since becoming a peer?
So I became a peer very young. And after not as long in the society, I think, as a lot of people have experienced. Araya and I can probably sort of commiserate on this one because we were both made peers fairly early in our SCA experience. And so I don't really know that I have an answer. I had been doing Big Brothers, Big Sisters for a while. And that was the big thing that I changed there was learning how not to swear constantly, which I still do when I'm around adults, but I tend to mediate my language a little bit better in front of kids. Because working with a young adult or a young person who I was not like the actual parent of, like she was like, oh no, I hear swear words all the time at home. And I was like, you know what? I'm not your adult. I don't want to be that person in front of you. So like, I got really good at saying sort of substitute swear words. The hardest thing I've had to do so far as a peer, was probably firing a student. Or I guess severing the relationship with a student. That was really unpleasant, I think, for everybody. It's no fun. And that was probably it. That's my answer.
Oh yeah. Since you cut off my question, you get to answer first.
I'm gonna go with no comment.
Oh.
No, actually, no. You know what? Actually, I will say. Hold on, I'm answering a text from a friend of ours who's asking about can we get captioning up for non-hearing people. But I would actually say that Kinehild kind of hit that nail on the head, which is having to break up with a dependent, in my case, an apprentice. That was probably the hardest thing I ever endured in the SCA, because for me, it actually taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about what my values, where my values come from, and where I've been unable for years to articulate why I feel this way. But when it happened, when the thing happened that I had to break up with that person over who was my apprentice, I realized like what I value most in the SCA is fealty. Like what I want is somebody to, if I am giving my fealty to this person, I want somebody to return my fealty to me. And that's it's a whole huge bag of worms. Can of worms, not a bag of worms, can of worms. But it's a very hard thing. And it was a defining moment, I feel like, in my peerage path, that I would go with that.
So I have a super somber answer, actually.
As it wasn't somber enough for you?
Oh, mine's like rage filled, actually.
Oh no, mine is oh my god.
Yeah, yours is like rage pinky up. So my first answer was, or Kinehild actually touched on it, is I was pelled pretty young. Actually, Kinehild and I like compared notes to see who was done earlier, which she still beat me. But that was interesting because I got told that I wasn't old enough yet, where I was just like, do I have the body work? Fuck off. But that just feeds my spite sprinkles a little bit. That's where like, oh, give me your hate. Like I will feed on this and I will become a better peer because you hate me because I can be better. And so that was fine and really adaptable too. I was knighted right in the middle of the Me Too moment.
Oh, that was fun. Yeah.
That was actually brutal, and I almost quit the SCA. After achieving something that is supposed to be this like amazing holy thing, and then sitting there, and I will preface, none of these are knights that most people interact with. There's a lot of keyboard courage going on. These are a lot of knights that are no longer active or with us, and frankly, they can go suck a dick. But listening to them make excuses for behavior when we are supposed to be chivalry, and we are supposed to be the like pinnacle of those who we protect and everything else like that, and I will die on that hill in those ideals. And sitting there and watching this happen right after being knighted was just heartbreaking. And almost soul destroying. And then I realized that it just fed the spite sprinkles in a different way. So because I am a human that is driven off like challenge, so that's where spite sprinkles comes from. And it gave me the challenge to understand that I'm going to outlive them, I'm going to outperform them, and it'll take a while, but if I left, then all I'm doing is letting them fill that void even more. I'm giving up my voice and I'm giving up my ability to defend what I think chivalry should be. And so that was the hardest part about transitioning into being a peer, was realizing that there's a huge vast, like, culture is changing, and I'm really happy culture is changing. And occasionally I'm going to have to go put on my bully britches and somebody's going to say something stupid. And this is where I'm going to really use the word, is I need to actually go be a bully for the right reasons and just be like, sit the fuck up or sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. There we go. And be a knight. Even when it sucks. So there's my somber answer.
I will say honestly that I am very grateful that I have seen you be a knight, and I've seen you be that person and be that person who's like, hey, shut the fuck up and I just kicked my table again. Like I feel like it looks like an earthquake every time I knock this table.
It does a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not. But anyway, not the point. I've been very proud of you watching you be that person, and I've been impressed by it. And it reminds me of what is important in knighthood. I am pleased to be able to say that all the knights that I have looked up to in my SCA career are that person. And so you join this pantheon of people who I hold dear in my heart.
Oh, I gotta feel like, oh God, that's like a hard feel. That's like I have a feel.
Where did you
shall we go to the next question after that seriousness?
Truly,
Oh, hang on, I'm sorry. The Lady of the Lake has appeared.
Oh no!
Oh
no! Okay, are we ready for the Lady of the Lake's question? I can't read this straight-faced. Favorite word for how it feels in your mouth?
So I really like. So we're getting ready for this thing tomorrow, the Saga Saturday tomorrow, and one of the words in the poem is umklimpte. It's spelled YMBCLYMPTE, and that one's really fun. Also, midklemmis. And just because it's fun to be able to, like, once you get through it in the poem, you're like, yeah, midklemmis. I didn't fuck that up this time.
That sounds dirty.
It does, actually. And she also says it super dirty, where she's like looking at the camera and just be like,
I think, well, my favorite word to say, because I like the way it sounds, is meniscus.
Ooh.
Yeah, currently I am actually having a problem with my meniscus in my left knee, so it's a whole thing. But yeah, I really enjoy that. When I was like 6, though, I actually think it was Canaveral, like Cape Canaveral. I liked saying that. That was a really fun word to say.
I'm gonna have to go with cinnamon.
Oh, cinnamon's good.
It's
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon. It's fun to say. Also, you can't really say it mad. Try saying cinnamon mad.
I can't.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Cinnamon. And then you're like, oh, fuck, whatever. It's also just fun with the tongue. It's good tongue rolls, which are good for other things later.
It's like susurrus. I like the word susurrus.
Oh, I like the word.
I believe the Lady of the Lake just delivered a book.
Oh, no.
So we have a bonus question from her. What's your favorite swear word?
Oh, dear God.
I mean, fuck is such a good word.
It is the perfect word.
It is, and let me really quickly, I'm going to soapbox on this. This is my soapbox. So, fuck is not, you're going to have somebody out there tell you that it's fornication under consent of the king, or it's got to do with pluck you, but it doesn't. Please, whenever somebody says that, gives you these folk etymologies, tell them that they're wrong and they should feel bad about themselves. Because what it is it's a solid Proto-Germanic word. It could come from to strike or to stab, is one of the proposed roots, and that's a Proto-Indo-European root, pug. It's like to strike or to stab. But if you look in our sort of related languages, if you look in German, you have ficken. There's ficka in Swedish, if I remember correctly. Either that or ficka is a coffee break. Ficka might be a coffee break in Swedish.
I like that it's somehow grammatically linked to fuck.
I don't think it is. I think in that case, it's just a word that sounds, it's not actually related. But anyway, the point is that fuck is this solid Proto-Indo-European, it's an old word. It's none of this fornication under consent of the king horse shit. It is a word alone, and it appears, the earliest appearance in a manuscript, if I remember correctly, is like 15th century, and it's in the margins, and it's like fuck the archbishop. It's fantastic. That's
I have to go with fuck too, because my mom and I went back and forth on this for a long time. My mother allowed me to swear with impunity. You know, shit, ass, bitch, whatever, even twat and cunt. Like, I could say those words, but I couldn't say fuck. And fuck became the word that literally peppers almost, I would say, like 50% of my lexicon. It's just sprinkled in there. But it's such a useful, and it gets your attention.
Yeah.
An attention grabbing word. It is not like we are not fucking around now. Shit is legitimately fucking going on. So it gets your attention. And I would say, yeah, definitely F word all the way.
I'm just gonna go with fuck because it is useful. I'm just gonna steal Kunihild's soapbox and be like, yeah, that, and yours, and be like, yeah, that too, and also say that it's fun to say.
It's so good.
It is.
It is so satisfying to just be like, fuck. It's so good.
There is something about ending on a stop. Like, so fuck, you've got this initial voice, this unvoiced fricative, right? And then you sort of slide through the vowel, and then you end on this really nice stop, right? Fuck. And it works out really well that when you're mad, you can really make it work for you. Or you can make it, make it work other ways, I suppose.
But wait, can you use it a pickup line or to tell somebody to fuck off?
Hey, girl,
exactly. But it's talking about mouthfeel, right? Word mouthfeel. Yeah. It's not a good mouth. You can. It works well.
Yeah. All right.
Next question. Fuck off. This one's mine. You stole mine.
I'm not even trying. I'm just trying to move it along. I'm not going to try to like.
So this one comes from Valora. What's your favorite kingdom tradition? It doesn't need to be your kingdom.
Or the kingdom that you're currently in. Since we're all in the same kingdom. I mean,
we are all in the same kingdom. So I'm actually, I will look back to my former kingdom. When I joined the SCA, I joined it when I was in university, and I was in the kingdom of Callantyr. And what my favorite kingdom tradition in Callantyr was the Purple Pavilion. The Purple Pavilion is the kingdom pavilion. It's the royal pavilion, but it's not like we treat the royal pavilion in the West, where the royal pavilion is the demesne of the king and queen. And this is their space, and it's where they hold court from and all that. The Purple Pavilion, that's hard to say after 2 beers, just FYI. The Purple Pavilion is where the crown holds court, but it's also the kingdom's living room. And so if you are, like, after a battle, people are just lounging around it. It is open to anybody who wants to. The soup kitchen sets up right next door. So you've got peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, you've got chicken noodle soup, you've got fighter biscuits, which are terrifying when you think about what's in them, but delicious at the moment. And you're just lounging around. I have watched the King of Callantyr hold court over a prone, drunk human being who is passed out in front of his thrones. And that's fine because it's the pavilion. It's everybody's there. And he just sort of put his feet on top of the guy and was like, moving on. I've got friends who've slept in the Purple Pavilion. It's just, there's a notion in Callantyr that the kingdom is a household. And that everybody there belongs as much to the kingdom as the kingdom belongs to its people. And I really loved that. And it was made real in the existence of the pavilion. So that's my favorite.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Okay, so my favorite, I'm a daughter of the West. I haven't lived in any other kingdoms. I've only ever really visited, I think, Antir, Aitenfeld, Artemisia, and very briefly, actually, I didn't even go to an event to that, so it doesn't even count. So yeah, like 4 kingdoms, and they're all West Coast kingdoms. And so they're all very, Kaid too. I love you, Kaid. But I think the thing that I love the most about a tradition is roses. And it's a tradition that's coming up in other kingdoms. It's starting to spread. It's really lovely to see it going to other kingdoms. But roses in the West Kingdom always started. Honestly, I don't know how it started, but it's a thing where, like, if you're taken out of the tournament, if you don't want to fight in the tournament, you just want to fight pickups, sort of a thing, you fight in roses during, like, crowns and also coronets. And literally all it is an excuse to, like, just give as many roses to as many people that deserve them as we possibly can. And that to me is a lovely tradition, because I never consorted. I never got to consort until way late in my SCA game. Like, we're talking 25 years-ish into my SCA career did I become a consort, and I never experienced what it was like to be quote unquote special during the day of the tournament. And one of the wonderful things about roses is that you don't have to be a consort. You don't have to be attached to any fighter. It's literally just kind of who you are, or who thinks you're worthy of a rose. And that's it. And that's roses. And I think that's a beautiful Western tradition, and I'm happy to see it spread out from here. So.
It always, every time I get a rose when people are fighting roses, it always, like, there's always this moment of like,
Who, me? You like me. You really like me. Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's
so.
exactly what.
I would like to note that she glared at me so hard when I had a rose delivered to her man and not her.
She's talking about me.
What?
This is a story.
Flowers too.
No, so this was a funny story from our last, the last crown that we were able to hold in the fall. She sent a rose to my boyfriend and not to me. And I didn't actually think it was a thing because also love Helga, like don't care. She's the best thing ever. And I walk up and I see my boyfriend sniffing a rose, like, I got a rose. And I'm like, oh, really? You got a rose? Who sent that to you? And he's like, the queen. And I'm all, oh, really? Next thing I know, I've got like 40 roses.
I literally saw her just like,
it was amazing.
And I was like, okay, I need to fix this problem. Real prerogative.
Still feels bad about it, which cracks me up. And also, yeah, you shut.
I didn't feel like getting stabbed later while we were drinking.
I love you. I love you, Helga. It's all good. Don't worry. But if you want to keep sending roses my way, that's cool too.
It's okay. I'll work on that like, as soon as it opens up.
Yeah.
So my favorite kingdom tradition is actually one, roses, but that's already been explained. And so I'm going to go with an outer kingdom tradition is I love the collar of swords.
Okay.
It is, for me, it is a very, very powerful thing. And I understand that it's not done in the West very often. And there's many interpretations of it, but my interpretation is the oath I am swearing you will hold me to, both in easy times and in hard times. Because occasionally, as peers, we need to be reminded of our oath. When we falter, we will need our brothers and sisters to pick us up. And so that tradition speaks to that for me so deeply. Like anytime I see it, I get the shivers. Like that is something that speaks. That's the reason why I had it done for my knighting, is because the knights are not an autonomous, like we're not individuals. Like in any peer, we're not individuals. We lose some of our individuality. Is group renown is a real thing. Like, that's the reason why I'm very much so, like, squish the fucking bad ones. Like, excuse me, are you being a dick? I'm sorry. Let me, like, drop you down a couple pegs. Because, you like, unified renown is actually a real thing. And so that, to me, speaks to that, of we, as a group, will hold you to your oath, even in your good times and when you falter. So, I love that tradition.
I think that the collar of swords is something I've seen it done a handful of times in the West Kingdom, and it's always been incredibly impactful. And it is a visual symbol of we're going to hold you to it. You know, if I could have taken a collar of swords as a laurel, I fucking would have. It just is not an option and or appropriate for my particular peerage, but it is a beautiful and wonderful example of how we believe in these things. It's not just a costume that we put on and we take off. It's something that everyone holds everyone else to. And for sure, absolutely.
It's such an arresting image.
Oh,
like the visual of the color of swords. And I like what you're talking about there with like, this is a reminder that in the future, even when you stumble, your fellow peers of whatever stripe will be there to remind you and to support you.
Or also literally throw you against the wall and tell you you're fucking up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, occasionally any peer needs to get decked.
Oh, for sure.
Soapbox. I'm calling a soapbox.
Soapbox. Pew pew.
In any moment in time, so this is actually a reminder, and this is what brought this up. At any moment in time, you are the hero, you are the victim, or you are the villain of any situation. And you need to understand that you will be all three at any point in your life. The choices you make put you in the place. You will never only be one. You can try to be in that category as much as possible. You can act as much as you can to be in whatever category of those three as possible. But you need to understand that you are going to be in them. At some point, I will be the villain in somebody's story. At some point, I will be the victim of the story. At some point, I will be the hero of the story. And if you can understand that, you will save yourself a shit ton of heartbreak. And remember that when you're a villain, the rest of your heroes should pull you the fuck out of it. When you're the victim, the rest of your heroes are probably going to be the people that save you. And there'll be occasionally somebody that you don't think would. When you're the hero, it's your turn to pay them back for those other two positions. So fucking suck it up and realize where you're standing, because that's the only way you can address it. Soapbox done.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And honestly, the people that are willing to tell you that you're fucking up, you should listen to them. It's not pleasant, it's not comfortable, it's not a wonderful thing that anybody would kind of edge in and be like, hey, so, but you should listen to that person. If they're trying to tell you that you're doing something bad, absolutely listen to that person.
It's an incredibly hard moment to realize that you won't always be the hero of the story. Like, as a kid, in your mind, you're like, oh, of course I'll always be the good guy. But there's gonna, and I know I have, like, I've fucked it up hard. And the realization that sometimes you're the villain of the story and that you need to make better what you fucked up. Like, acknowledge, like, yeah, nope, that was wrong. I did wrong. I fucked that up hard.
My greatest example, actually, Kinehild, right now is you. I fucked up verbally real hard. I stuck my foot to the knee in my mouth about something on a public call and pissed a couple friends off and everything else like that. And Kinehild was the one that was my hero, because she came and said, hey, I think you really need to rethink what you said. And I sat and ground on it, and she was 100% right. I was really the villain in what I said. And so thus she was my hero.
Well, that's very sweet of you to say. It's always hard to have that moment. And it's certainly not my favorite experience. I would much rather, like, in my imagination, right, like, I'm always the hero. But the reality is I'm not. And understanding that about yourself is a moment of, like, that's one of those gateways, right? Like, you pass through that gateway and you're like, oh, self-realization. Well, that's a bitch.
That's also how I define humility.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Okay, so getting us back on track.
Yes.
I had my soapbox. Sorry about that. That one just like came out.
I'm on beer 3, by the way. This is The Law and Jake Wade from Bear Paw.
Ooh, nice. Oh, yeah. By the way, I would like to note that my cup tonight is fucking amazing.